Hello once again. If you are interested in learning more about linguistics, then you are welcome. Throughout today's class, we will consider the first chapter of linguistics module destined to second year students, L2. General information about the course and instructor. So the lesson includes objectives, introduction, definition, long versus parole. Then we will be reflecting on signifier versus signified, synchrony versus diachrony, moving to syntagmatic versus paradigmatic, and finally reaching to the conclusion. By the end of this course, the student will be able to, number one, define each of the Saussurian dichotomies and explain their significance in linguistics. Number two, understand the historical context in which Saussure developed his theories and the shift from historical and comparative linguistics to structural linguistics. Number three, provide concrete examples illustrating each Saussurian dichotomy to demonstrate their understanding of how these concepts manifest in language. The last one, examine the impact of Saussurian dichotomies on modern linguistics and their relevance in analyzing language structure and communication. Let's begin with this question. How can you define the term structuralism in linguistics? Structuralism is a philosophical perspective that began in the 1920s, initially in Europe. The main goal is to focus on the study of structures that constitute meaning in culture. It posits that elements of a human culture must be understood in terms of their relationship to a larger underlying structure. To that end, structuralism derives from the theories and methods of various social sciences, including anthropology, sociology, and psychology. Saussure's key contribution lies in his structuralist approach, which emphasized the study of language as a system of interconnected elements rather than a collection of isolated words or sounds. Moving to the first Saussurian dichotomy is long versus parole. Long represents the abstract systematic structure of a language shared by its speakers. It's the collective knowledge, including its grammar, vocabulary, and rules. Long here is not tied to any individual speaker, but is instead a product of the community. It is social and collective. Parole, on the other hand, refers to the actual instances of language use by individuals. It encompasses the behaviors and utterances of individual speakers, which may vary based on context, personal style, or other factors. Parole is observable and reflects the application of long by individuals. It's the concrete side of language. So if we consider here English, for example, long would be the underlying grammar and vocabulary shared by all English speakers, while parole would be the specific ways in which individuals express themselves when speaking or writing. The rules of grammar and vocabulary, we consider them as long. The actual spoken or written utterances, parole. Signifier versus signified dichotomies. The signifier represents the physical form of a linguistic unit, such as a sound pattern or a written symbol in the speaker's memory congregation of phonemes. The signified is the mental image, concept, or meaning associated with that form. Both signifier and signified are of a psychological nature within the speaker's mind. So we have here an example of a tree. The word tree as signifier represents the concept of a tall, woody plant with branches and leaves as signified. The second example, think of the red light in a set of traffic lights. The signifier is the red light. The signified is that you cannot continue to drive your car any further. The sign, you must stop the car because it's dangerous to continue and you will endanger yourself and others. Saussure emphasizes the arbitrary relationship between the signifier and the signified within a linguistic sign. Just as a reminder for you here, what's the difference between semiology and semiotics? Semiology refers to the study of signs and symbols in general, while semiotics specifically focuses on the study of linguistic signs. For instance, analyzing traffic signs and symbols, we consider them as semiology. Examining the relationship between linguistic signs and meaning, semiotics. Moving to the third dichotomy, synchrony versus diachrony. Synchrony refers to the study of language at a specific point in time, focusing on its existing structure and features. Diachrony, on the other hand, involves studying language change over time, tracing the historical development and evolution of language structure, vocabulary, and usage patterns. It looks how languages evolved and adapt over centuries. For example, analyzing the current structure of English grammar versus tracing the historical developments of English from Old English to modern English. Moving to the last dichotomies, which are syntagmatic versus paradigmatics. Syntagmatic relations refer to the linear arrangement of linguistic elements within a sentence. For example, words in a sentence. According to de Saussure, linguistic units such as words are defined in relational terms. Syntagmatic is also defined as relating to the way different words or language elements can be combined to make language structures, which means as a chain. Paradigmatic is defined as relating to the way different words or language items can be chosen to play a particular part in a language structure. Paradigmatic relations involve the selection of one element over others that could occupy the same position. For example, choosing a word to fill a slot in a sentences. There are two principal types of relation. A syntagmatic relationship, which involves a sequence of signs that together create meaning relations of combination. The second one, a paradigmatic relationships, which involve signs that can replace each other, usually changing the meaning with the substitution, relation of substitution. Understanding both dimensions helps analyze language structure and usage comprehensively. Note that elements in paradigmatic relationships share common features. All the words in the column here are determiner. All those in the second are adjectives, and so on, as you see in this example. In conclusion, it's worth noting that numerous language specialists addressed the aforementioned linguistic concepts prior to Saussure. However, the later researcher has successfully used the notions, incorporating them into a more wide and original theoretical framework that unavoidably has limitations. Despite their basic positioning for tackling any linguistic system, the Saussurean framework has proven to be confounding when used in practice. It was a pleasure sharing this video with you. Don't hesitate to contact me for any clarification. Thanks for watching.